Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Featured Voice and Audio Flow podcast summer series. We are now on episode 5, so that means you've had an opportunity to meet 4 voiceover performers that you may have not been familiar with, and I hope that you've had an opportunity to go and check out their libraries and pick up a few of their books. This week, I'm happy to present to you a person that I had a chance to kind of see a little bit of during the Audio Publishers Association conference. I saw her, and I tell you, it was like, where's Waldo? Because she moved so fast. Every time I wanted to get over and see her, she was gone, like the Flash, like the girl version of Flash. And so I found out recently that she doesn't live too far from me. So last week I had a chance to catch up with her personally. And this week you guys will get to hear a few of the things that she and I had a chance to talk about and discuss. So I won't keep all of the secrets to myself. I'll share them with you. So please help me welcome this week's featured voice, Laurel Schroeder. Hey, Laurel, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
I'm glad that you were able to kind of escape your booth and come and hang out and be a part of the featured voice. So you are number 5. I can't believe we've made it all the
Woohoo.
way to 5. So yay! And I was just mentioning that I had a chance to come and hang out with you at the coffee shop, and we chat a little bit about your dog. But of course, I wanted to share some of those details that I got to learn about you with the listeners. So that's what this is all about, is for the listeners to get a chance to know you as a person as well as your work. So.
Awesome.
First off, let's talk a little bit about you and narrating, and kind of what was the determining factor or the thing that kind of drove you into moving into this part of the industry.
Well, I've been acting for a long time, since I was about 12 years old, in various forms, and went to undergrad for it, went to grad school for it, have worked as a stage and film actress, and I was in New York for a couple of months and visited a friend of mine, met up with a friend of mine for a drink, and she had just started doing audiobooks. She was an actor also. And she was just telling me about it. And I was like, oh, like as she was talking, the gears in my brain just started going. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do that. So she actually won an Audie last year. She narrated the White Trash Zombie books. I think there's a series of like 5 of them.
Oh, okay.
Her name's Allison McLemore. She's great. She's got this great like Southern twang, and she just did the great like sort of white trash Southern like accent for this character. And she had just been doing those books and was just talking about how much fun it was and what a great kind of thing it was as an actor to be able to do this as kind of another way to sort of support yourself as you kind of, actors are usually tend to be very scrappy kind of freelancey type people. So I
Did you
I
say
found out about it.
Scrappy.
Scrappy. Yeah, that's us. We're very scrappy. And so I remember that night I went home and just started kind of like I was Googling like everything I could about audiobook narration and how it worked and what was required to get started, and came across ACX, which is sort of the way a lot of people I think are getting into the industry now, which is it connects, authors and narrators directly. So it kind of makes it easier to get your foot in that door. And
Right.
from there, the rest has been history. That was like 3.5 years ago or so now. And I now do it full time and I love it.
Well, that's awesome. Do you find that narrating audiobooks is more difficult than acting on stage, or are they about the same?
Oh man, I think they're like, it's harder in some ways and it's easier in some ways. Like certain things are hard that you wouldn't think, like being still is really hard, like being still for a long time, especially when you're emoting and kind of, conveying emotions and sort of going through this journey of this book. It's hard to do that. It took me a while to learn to do that without like wanting to move my arms too much or kind of, move around, and to stick, right on the mic and just let the words kind of carry it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then it's one of those things where in some ways it's easier because you can make, like, all the characters are your own. So you can make the scene kind of exactly how you want it because you play all the parts. But I
Yeah.
miss having someone on stage with me to kind of, it's fun on stage with another actor, it's like you get the unexpected because somebody else has their take on it. So they throw something at you that you didn't expect. So it's kind of a little bit harder in some ways and a little bit easier in other ways, I think.
Yeah, I can just imagine being in that little space in the booth, and it's just you, and you have all these voices, I guess, in your head that you have to portray, and you have to bring them to life. But I mean, you really can't stay still. I mean, I'm pretty sure you kind of move around a little bit. I mean, you don't get up and dance while you're performing or anything. I think that would be a little bit awkward, but I'm pretty sure you probably move your hands a little bit. Maybe that might help you a little bit in your character or something.
It does, yeah. And I do. It's funny. I actually have figured out what, even like things like what clothes to wear in the booth, because certain
Ha!
materials are like just really, it's the weird things that you would just never think about until you try to make, a space totally quiet. But some materials are just kind of crinkly or always kind of, any movement you make, they kind of make a noise. So I found things I can wear that are kind of like my silent clothes that I can wear, and then I can move around a little bit more, which is nice.
The silent clothes. I've seen your post on Facebook talking about the no pants. So I'm telling you guys, I guess that's the way to go. Skin. The no
Less
pants.
is
There's
better.
there's no noise coming from that.
Exactly. Well, plus, I don't know, during the summer it can get so hot too. So you'll find out, I feel like a lot of my narrator friends and I will talk about sort of like ways to stay cool in the booth. And yeah, kind of like once you're down to as little as you can be wearing, then you're looking for other ways to stay cool. So people bring in like a little, cooling pad or something with them. But
Yeah, because you can't have a fan. I mean, because of course fans make noise, and then in the book
hmm
we'll just hear the fan going, and we're wondering why is there a fan sound? Is that a new sound
exactly.
effect? It's no, Laura was trying to stay cool in the booth with
The
pants on.
sacrifices that we make.
Yeah, see, us listeners, we don't really pay attention to those sacrifices. I mean, it's got to be a little warm in there. So
Mm.
while you're in the booth, I'd love to know kind of what's going on behind the scenes. So how first of all, how long are you in there before you actually take a break? Like, how many chapters or hours do you work before you're like, okay, I gotta get up. I might need to go use the bathroom, or I need some water or something. What's your time frame?
It kind of varies, and I'm getting better, I think, at taking breaks. My dog has been good for me for that because he wants to go out or he wants to get a little bit of love or something. But I used to say that my booth was like like this weird like time warp. Like I'd go in and just an hour would pass, like the blink of an eye, because I get so sucked into the story,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was good. I mean, it's great that it's kind of you feel that kind of like just sort of get sucked into it. But it's also bad because I would forget to take breaks when I really probably should have. So I'm getting better at saying like today I was in the booth and I think I did 2 chapters and then would take a short break and then 2 more chapters and then a short break. And I found that, more frequent short breaks actually works great for me just to kind of, even like 5 minutes, just kind of walk around and sort of re-energize my body. And that kind of thing really helps me.
Okay, that makes sense because I totally understand that, and thank God for Corbin that he actually will kind of look at you and probably I could just see him putting his little paws up on the door and saying, don't forget
Like, hey,
about me.
hey,
I need to go out.
I'm still out here. I'm still out. Well, and there's a window in my little booth, so I can always peek out and see him. And if he looks too sad, I'll have to go out and give him a little bit of love or give him a little
Exactly.
walk.
Exactly. And I have that same issue. My dogs they'll come and look and they'll just start walking back and forth and it reminds me, you've been sitting in that chair for 6 hours. You might want to get up.
Yeah,
So, you make the sacrifice to get up and give them some attention and actually go to the bathroom and get some
right.
water. So that's important. So,
It
okay.
is.
So you're in the booth and you have everything. What are the things that you have with you that makes um I guess that makes it easy for you to go into production. Like, do you have any snacks? I mean, what do you have in the booth with you? Describe it for me so I can close my eyes and picture what it looks like.
All right. Well, let's see. First of all, I have a little mascot in my booth, which is not really that necessary for my actual production, maybe, but it is to me now psychologically. I have a little stuffed pink turtle that's been in there since the beginning, and he's always with me.
Oh,
Um, and then I don't have snacks in the booth because usually, like before I go in, I always brush my teeth to kind of just clear everything out and make sure my mouth is as not squeaky and weird
yeah.
mouth noisy as possible. But I have water. in the booth always, something to drink in the booth always, always.
Okay.
I also keep a little like spray bottle of water that I'll spray like inside my mouth. Sometimes you don't want to, sometimes just like drinking is almost like too much hydration. So I'll mist my mouth gently. It's like I'm a little
Oh,
plant in a
a
nursery or
mouth
something.
mister. A mouth
Yes, very
mister. That's
fancy.
kind of cool.
Um, and then I have like, I think by this point I have like 3 or 4 lip balms and like some coconut oil that I'll use on my lips if my lips are getting smacky.
Mm-hmm.
I have a collection of various sizes of straws that I will
Huh.
use as a vocal warm up. If my voice is getting kind of tired, there's a couple things you can do where you sort of blow into a straw and the sort of tight space you have to, it actually kind of helps stretch out the soft palate and helps kind of revitalize the voice when it's getting tired. So this is
That
Corbin's like outside watching me in the booth, like talking into a mic and blowing into a straw. Like, you're crazy.
well, I have never heard of that. So everybody that's listening, we should just buy straws and it's supposed to help us with whatever she just said. That's what we're gonna do.
It's a funny, so I worked with a vocal coach and she was the one that gave me that trick. So it's like you actually kind of like you can like hum or sing into it, and it feels really strange because you have to put a lot of kind of pressure behind the vocalization because it's such a small little instrument that you're blowing through. But it actually is really helpful. Like if my voice is getting tired, I'll do it for a couple minutes, and then the next time I speak, it's just like everything is kind of reset in my voice. So
That's
it's
kind
a
of
fun
cool.
little trick.
Is that like blowing it into the bottle and it makes that whistling sound? Have you ever done that?
Oh, I have, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm not actually sure what all that like. Someone who's an actual vocal coach will tell you like all the principles behind why it works. Um, but I do know that it's kind of because it takes more force. Like if I just like hum, it takes a certain amount of breath and a certain amount of kind of strength from
Right.
the diaphragm. But if it's a smaller aperture, then it takes more of that, and I think that's what helps kind of stretch the vocal cords out again.
See, she's using all those big words for people who are in the industry or who sing. But normal people like me who just talk, we don't know. We just talk. And it's like,
Hmm.
we don't need to stretch any diaphragms or anything. We
Oh,
just
that's
speak.
good.
But we do have water and we do have lip balm. So that's always
Hmm.
lots of fun. So in case you guys didn't know, Laurel also has a pseudonym and she also narrates under Tracy Marks, which is how I found you, actually through your alter name,
Hmm.
versus Laurel. And I think the first book that I listened to you was in the Giving series by L.M. Carr.
Oh,
And
fun.
so that was the first book, and she played Mia Delaney, I
Hmm.
think that's her name, and such a wonderful book. I'm actually on book three. I'm a little bit behind, but so what was kind of your thought behind using two names? I know a lot of people get a little confused. I know a lot of listeners sometimes were like, why did they switch it up? I mean, if you listen to books enough, you can kind of tell who's who.
Hmm.
But what was kind of your thoughts between going with Laurel and Tracy?
I think it was partly, I think one of the first books I did actually, and there's a couple of Laurel Schroeder books that have a couple of kind of racy scenes in them a little bit. It gets a little steamy, but it was one of the first books I did where I was like, "Whew, this is getting pretty like I gotta fan myself here." And then I was like, "What if my mom like finds this and listens to it?" And I got super embarrassed just thinking about that. And then I was like, "I know, I'll use another name." And so that was kind of like I think the impetus for the idea. And then really since then, it's become more about just keeping the two kind of genres that I work in separate because I do a lot of like young adult stuff as Laurel Schroeder.
Hmm.
And so if someone were to like listen to one of those books and like it and then starts kind of scrolling through to see what else I've done, I didn't want them to come across anything that was like too scandalous.
Right.
So I just kind of keep those separate. So it's just kind of just for listener expectations more so they know kind of if it's Tracy Marks, that means it's probably got a little bit more bedroom type action or whatever. And then if it's Laurel Schroeder, there might be a little bit of that, but it's generally a little bit tamer. So,
And that would be why Tracy Marks is a part of the Aurally Screwed collection and not Laurel. Because yeah,
mhm.
we can't say, she we were aurally screwed by Laurel and she's doing YA. It kind of just just doesn't even make sense there.
Yeah.
so
Um,
so do you remember your first audiobook and what that experience was like?
Oh man. Yeah, I remember the first I had done a couple of like short titles, and then I did my first full-length book it was like a pirate adventure novel. It was really fun. Um, but it was like being trapped under rubble is how I always describe it because it was
Oh
just
my.
the first, I mean, because audiobooks are such a marathon to narrate. I mean, it's really, like my friends who do commercial voiceover still laugh at me because it's like, oh, I go in and do a 30-second spot and I'm out the same day and my job is over, where I'm like, okay, I'm on day 3 of 4 working on this same book and I'm doing a
Hmm.
couple of, finished hours a day. Um, so I remember, and I was working slower at that point too, because I wasn't full time with narration and I was kind of learning the ropes and kind of trying to translate my stage acting background into what does it mean to be doing all of that stuff, but in a, closeted into a microphone. And so just at one point, maybe like halfway through the book, just looking at the page count and being like, I'll never get through this. But I did, and I kept going, and now it's gotten, my turnover on books is a lot faster. But it was really fun. It was fun to read the book and kind of like, as I was preparing to narrate it, I read through it and sort of just knowing like I get to play all these characters, and there was a female lead, but it was a lot of really cool like male characters, which is, in theater still there's kind of some things where it's like, finding good parts for ladies is hard sometimes, and so it's fun to
Hmm.
be able to play all the parts, and I get to be the assholes and the damsels and the badass chicks and everybody. I get to do all of it, so that part's really
Yeah,
fun.
you get to be the dude.
I get to be the dude.
Okay, I just want to know, in this book, did you get to say "I matey" or was it that kind of pirate or no?
I
I
think
just
I
imagine.
might have, it was pretty piratey. I don't remember if I actually said the words like "our matey," but something probably pretty close to it.
So now I'm gonna go look it up because I want to know if there's quite a few pirates audiobooks out now. It's coming back, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to know if they go "arg matey," and people are like, no, they don't say that, and I'm like, why? Because that's what I
Gotta
want to
throw at
hear.
least one in there. I mean, come
Just one,
on.
or a wench. I want to hear you say wench or "arg matey" or something. I
Oh
gotta hear
man.
one.
I'm not now I have to like try to remember if I actually said it. It was a very, because it was also like historically like set, and so it's a good chance that there was at least some kind of like R, or if not the R, at least the matey part. And I think that probably got said.
Okay, and maybe a wench
Um,
or two. You
I
just
hope
never
so.
know.
You can only
Yeah,
hope. I mean,
Uh,
really.
I
Jeez.
mean, right. So okay, so we know that your first Laurel Schroeder book was a pirate esque book.
Hmm.
Do you remember your first Tracy Marks book?
I actually don't remember which one I made that kind of switch on. It might have been, I did a book called Beyond Her Words that was like a motorcycle club book.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been one of the first. I did a book called Crow by Ashley Zavarelli that was, I can't remember if it was one of those. I think might have been the first one. And then I kind
Okay.
of got on a roll where I was doing several books by Tracy Marks for a while.
Yeah, you Tracy Marks is building up her library there. So, do you know about how many audiobooks you've recorded so far with both
As
names
Tracy,
together? Both of them
um,
together.
oh, total, maybe like 125 or something like that,
Yeah, I think that's
across
what I
both
saw.
names,
Yeah,
something like that in that ballpark.
and do you have a year-end goal? Like I always want to know, how many books does Laurel, aka Tracy, want to have under her belt when 2017 ends?
Whew, that's interesting. You know what? Actually, have not ever really like thought of that or put it in those way in that term. I guess because I normally just think of it kind of more like finished hours. Um,
Yeah.
so I usually do about 2 finished hours a day, and I work like 5 days a week. So it's like
Hmm.
40 finished hours a month. So
Hmm.
my goal is to be like working, as close to full time as I can maintain the work coming in. So, but I never really like put it into how many books that would be. I wonder
Yeah,
how many I'll do by the end of the year.
I know. That's we should put up a goal chart, and each time you finish a book, we mark it off because of course, listeners, we don't see how you just did that and said, "Oh, I put it into hours." No, we want to know
Hmm.
how many books because,
Right.
We want the finished product. Are you going to do 20 books this year? Yay, that's great. Now we know we're looking out
Mm.
for 20 books by you. And you're like, no, I need to do like 40,000 hours. Okay, well, is that 20 books? Okay, then that's
Oh,
great.
that's so funny.
That's great.
Oh,
Okay, so I'm gonna put that together for you. I'm gonna put that on your page, and I'm gonna say this is how many books. I'm not gonna say this is how many I expect because that sounds a little demanding. But I'd sure say this is how many we'd like to see, in your library. That's great. Keep it going. Good job. Kind of pat you on the
that's
back and all that
great.
kind of stuff. So I know that a lot of people usually ask the question about if there's any authors that you want to work with and things like that. But I want to know if there's any genres that you haven't had a chance to work with yet, and that you'd like to.
Ooh, that's a good question. One thing I would really love to do, and I haven't done much of it, and I think it's partly kind of just my voice. Everybody has a voice that's maybe more suited to one genre or another. But I would love to do like some mystery thriller kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done much. I mean, I've done like in the romance world some kind of like mafia romance, kind of dark romance, kind of thrillery, I guess you could say. But um, just more of a kind of like full like thriller, murder mystery kind of thing. That sort of thing would be really fun.
You know what's so funny that you say that? Everybody that I've spoken with that's been a part of the featured voice has said the same thing. And
Interesting.
I wonder what I'm not even sure. I need to do more research because it's really interesting that that's the one genre that all of you, maybe because you all do romance, and really mystery and thriller is not technically romance, it's just mystery and thriller. And it
Uh-huh.
may, I mean, but if there's romance in it, then it usually gets categorized as a romance with a little bit
Yeah.
of, so I think that's pretty cool, but I'm sure you could do it. So let's say you were in a murder mystery book, and let's say it was Psycho. I mean, that's not really murder mystery. It's more, I don't know, Alfred Hitchcock. So, like, have you ever thought about what your screamy voice would be? Like, in the booth, would you actually scream if it said the person screamed, or would you kind of just like
Ooh.
the person screamed, or would you do the whole Psycho shower scene scream in the booth?
Well, if I was gonna scream, I'd have to turn the gain down on my microphone so it's not picking up the volume as loud, because otherwise I would blow out my microphone. But
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. I haven't ever I'm trying to think if I've ever gotten a chance to do like that kind of a scene where someone is like screaming for their life. I mean, generally the kind of rule of thumb is um, even to go the opposite, if like in the booth, to go instead of screaming to actually kind of like whisper to
Mm-hmm.
suggest screaming, so that you're
Mm-hmm.
not actually shrieking in someone's ear. So they're like driving their car and all of a sudden the windows of their car, shatter because of the pitch of your voice or something. So you try to avoid that.
But that would be pretty cool. Like, I'd be like, she's the first one who actually gave me a scream. And yeah, I'm glad I was at a red light and I turned but it's so funny. I think about things like that. If it's a murder mystery, I want to know how a narrator would be able to bring that aspect in, because in TV it's visual. We watch
Hmm.
and we see and we hear the creepy music, so we know something's coming.
Hmm.
But with you guys, you have to be able to deliver that and give it the same effect. Which,
Hmm.
see, that's why you get paid the big bucks to do it, and we just spend the big bucks and buy it and listen.
It's really funny. I did one like haunted house book. It was a kind of a novella. It was about maybe 3 or 4 hours long, I think. And
Mhm.
I scared myself reading. I got scared reading.
Oh my
I don't know if
gosh.
I'm suited for like, I'm such a wuss. I'm not sure that I'm suited. Like a thriller mystery, I think I could handle, but this was just like, I'm like the haunted house thing, and I was in my booth by myself, and it was dark, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get through this book. So I'm
See,
not
now
sure
I
that
want to
I'm
look
like.
that up too. I want to look that one up too, because I've never listened to a horror book in audio. So that might be something fun. Of course, I'd listen to it during the daytime too, because I'm like you,
Mhm.
I don't do creepy. But so speaking of, are you an early bird or your night owl when you're recording?
I'm more of an early bird, I guess. Usually I try to, I mean, not super early, but I get up, maybe like 6:30, and then I try to be in the booth by maybe 8:30 or 9. So that I give myself a kind of window in the morning to just putz around the house and then work out and hang out with my dog and all that stuff. And then kind of like a daytime recorder, though. I usually try to do kind of like a 9 to 5-ish kind of thing, with breaks out of the booth, and somewhere in there get my finished hours that I want done. I've done later recording at night, and some narrators swear by it, or will do like, for various reasons, we'll have to record, either super early in the morning or super late at night. And I feel like my voice is just kind of the best sort of during the middle of the day, like the most reliable.
That makes sense because you and I had this discussion when we met the other day, and I said, I get up in the morning between certain hours of the day, I sound like a frog just died in my throat. And then later on during the day, it still sounds like that frog came back and revived itself, and he just re-died again in my voice. So, so it's good that you know which time of day, kind of works best for you and your voice. So kudos to you for being able to do that. But so you said you drink a lot of water, are there any other routines or things that you do to make sure that you are resting and taking care of your throat and your voice so that you're not putting any extra strain on yourself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's also one of those things where there's always the things I should do. There's always what I know I should do. And then sometimes I don't always do it. Like I'll go out and know that I shouldn't be talking so loud at this bar, or I shouldn't have this, like beer is dehydrating me, but I'm going to have a drink anyways. And so it's kind of managing, living your life and living your real life with keeping as good of care of, taking as good a care of your body as possible. But one thing that's really kind of the hardest one sometimes for me, because I tend to be kind of a night owl, not recorder, but just as a person. And so getting enough sleep is really key for me of having a good voice. And I sometimes am not great about that. I just will get sucked into something. I was prepping a book the other night, and I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning because I didn't want to stop reading. And I was like, I know I'm going to be so sad tomorrow, but I just can't stop.
And was that a book just for leisure reading, or was this work related?
It was work related. So I think that I give myself a free pass, because I'm like, but I'm working. I have to stay up. It's important.
But that's
but yeah, so that was.
But that's fun that you enjoyed it so much that you didn't want to stop. But yeah, you can't just be like me and go to sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning and get up at 7. That probably is not beneficial to you at all.
I try not to. It's rough because I am not like, I am a kind of a sort of night owl, insomniac. Just don't always like feel like, oh, I should just go to sleep now. So I'll stay up, and then in the morning I'm like, man, I wish I didn't have to get up right now, but I do. So it's in a couple nights of those, and I have to make sure I get a good night's sleep, or I will my voice will start getting like just incrementally deeper and deeper. It's like, that's not working out.
Then you'd have to just go ahead and record a full male POV book, and totally. That might work out for you.
Okay, I got the voice. I'm ready. Let's do it.
See, there it is right there. So speaking of POVs and accents, I guess that would be my segue. I'm going to use that. Are there any accents or voices or character voices that you found to either be very exciting that you enjoy seeing come up in a book, or some that you find more challenging that you're like, I got to brush up my skills a little bit on that one?
Oh, man. It's funny. I really love doing accent work. I've done a lot of studying of accents and different dialects for shows. And then since I've been doing books, I've learned a lot of new ones for books. And so it's always exciting when a new one kind of pops up where I have to sort of study it or brush up on it. The one that still always makes me super nervous is Australian. I don't know what the block is in my brain, but I am usually pretty good. I can, I did a Boston accent for several books, and that's kind of a notorious difficult accent to do. And it's kind of, people from there will definitely call you out if you're not doing it right. And I was super nervous. And actually that one, I mean, I worked on it a lot, but I kind of got to a place where it's like, I get this, I understand it. And it's kind of in my brain, in my kind of, musculature now, I can do it. But Australian, it just still escapes me. I can have it for a second, and then I'll say another word, and it's like, oh, that's gone.
That's interesting. I wonder why Australian seems to be more difficult. A lot of other people said Russian, but I heard you do a little bit of Russian for me the other day, and it sounded great. So maybe you can give the listeners a little bit of Russian. How about if you do She sells seashells by the seashore. See, I can't even say it in English, but if you did it in Russian, let's hear how it sounds.
Okay, well, so when I was doing a book with a Russian accent, I would do all of my vocal warm-ups with a Russian accent. So I would say something like, "She sells seashells by the seashore."
That's awesome.
So I would walk around my house doing like I had this list of like this page-long list of vocal warm-ups, and I would do them all with a Russian accent. My boyfriend was just like, "What are you even doing?" Um,
Hey, but that can be fun. See, you just go all Russian, you put on a really long dark wig, and you walk around and say, "Call me Natasha." I mean, that's the first thing that pops in my head. I don't know if that's wrong or not, but it kind of popped in.
I think, just to get into character, I really should have. I missed that chance. Darn it. Okay, I'll do another book with a Russian accent.
Okay, yeah, we need to find you another one, and then just send a picture, and I can say, "Oh, look, I inspired this warm up," and her name is Natasha, aka Laurel, aka Tracy. That's it. All right,
I love
so
it.
you just recently worked on Anne of Green Gables, which is a very popular classic book. So tell me about the experience in being able to get that as a project.
Oh man, it was really, really fun to work on. I had read it, probably not for years. I think I read it when I was a kid. And a children's theater group I was in when I was a teenager did a production of it. So that was kind of my memory of it, was like being in this play with Anne of Green Gables. Um, and I remembered liking it, but then reading it again and going back to it was really fun. It kind of reminded me why it's a classic. It's a really beautiful, sweet story, and kind of like a really simple sort of, uh, it's just very like, it was a fun one to read for me right now. I feel like it's just there's I've been really busy and there's just a lot going on, and it's just kind of like was nice to settle in with this really like just appreciation of life and nature, and this
Mm-hmm.
girl is just kind of, her optimism was just really like a fun place to be, because you kind of live in a book and you kind of like sit in its emotional kind of quality for a while. So I did a couple of like, I think maybe even right before that, I did a pretty dark romance. And so it was kind
Uh,
of like coming from a place that was a lot like darker and more like kind of, with a twist of, kind of everything worked out in the end, but going through the journey of sort of darkness and then into doing Anne of Green Gables was just really nice to kind of be in that sort of world for a while.
yeah, it's like cleansing your palate before you eat
Totally.
something. You gotta have, that they say it's not ice cream. I don't know, is it like gelato sherbet or something? And then so this was your palate cleanser, Anne of Green Gables, to kind of refocus you, and now you can jump back to some.
Yeah.
So we're going to listen to a little clip. You may or may not hear it, so don't fret
Okay.
if you don't hear anything. But we're gonna
Okay.
probably, now everyone, the clip is 4 minutes. We aren't gonna play the entire clip. We're probably gonna play maybe a minute and a little. It's just a teaser. So once the
Mhm.
audiobook actually comes out, then you want to hear the rest of it, then you be sure you go and buy it. So Laurel Schroeder is the one who is narrating, and we're gonna listen to a clip, and here we go.
I read of a girl once in a novel who had a lifelong sorrow, but it wasn't red hair. Her hair was pure gold, rippling back from her alabaster brow. What is an alabaster brow? I never could find out. Can you tell me? Well, now, I'm afraid I can't, said Matthew, who was getting a little dizzy. He felt as he had once felt in his rash youth, when another boy had enticed him on the merry-go-round at a picnic. Well, whatever it was, it must have been something nice, because she was divinely beautiful. Have you ever imagined what it must feel like to be divinely beautiful? Well, no, I haven't, confessed Matthew ingenuously. I have, often. Which would you rather be if you had the choice? Divinely beautiful, or dazzlingly clever, or angelically good? Well, I don't know exactly. Neither do I. I can never decide. But it doesn't make much real difference, for it isn't likely I'll ever be either.
All right, so we got a little sample of Anne of Green Gables, and Um, that's an interesting question that she asked. Would you rather be, I can't even remember, would you rather be handsome or would you rather be clever? And do you ever find people ask you those questions? Which would you rather? And really, you want both?
Always. I'm like, wait, I don't want to pick.
So you got to read narrate this particular book, and do we know when it's actually going to be releasing, or is it kind of in process right now?
It's in process, but it should be probably just a couple weeks is my hope that it should be out in a couple weeks.
So it will be out in a few weeks, and as Laurel is the featured voice, I will add the full sample that she sent in so that you guys can hear the entire thing. But such a great job that you did there with the two characters who are interacting in the story, and I can't wait to listen to it. I probably may have read this book way, way, way back in the day, so it'll be good and refreshing to get a different take on it through an audiobook. So that's one thing that I enjoy about classics is when now they're put on audio and we can enjoy them in a different format. So are there any other classic books that you would like to add to your library? If you could pick one, what would be the one that you'd want to narrate?
Ooh, I don't know. I've been looking for a couple more projects to do, sort of taking a classic work, and there's a lot of ones that I would love to do, but that are sort of a British author that I think would be best done by like a British narrator. Although I have done full British narration, so I'm kind of considering maybe trying to look into one of those at some
Ah,
point. But I did a version actually just a couple months ago of the Beatrix Potter Tales of Peter Rabbit.
oh,
So they're
okay.
just children's stories, but it was really fun because I hadn't really done a lot of children's stories before that. So it was like, really kind of like more leeway to go a little bit more over the top with the characters, and they're all animals. So they can have kind of whatever kind of voices you want to give them and stuff. So it was really fun.
So that was interesting. What inspired you to give those characters that type of voice? Did you, go old school and watch some cartoons, or did you just in your head say, "I think this character should sound like this, and their voice should be a higher pitch"? Or what kind of helped you get into that person's character and give them that voice?
I think it was partly kind of like because they were animals, like being inspired by like whatever the animal was. So thinking of almost like I didn't watch cartoons, but kind of thinking of the kind of like sort of like Disney movie or like cartoon version of like what that animal would be and how they would look and sound and stuff. And um, they're they're kind of like crazy characters that get into kind of weird scrapes and stuff and adventures anyway. So it was really easy to kind of be like imagine them like in their own little animated movie and or their cartoon and kind of like how they would look and act, and it just made it seem like they should be a little bit bigger, like larger than life kind of.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna check out that story as well because again, I haven't listened to many children's books on audio. I don't have any kids, but I do like to get a chance to see the different ways that you guys are able to perform in different genres and just kind of outside of my normal box of what I listen to. So I'm adding that
Mm-hmm.
one to my list. And so, okay, last few minutes here. So originally you're from Colorado,
Hmm.
and so are you? Okay, I always imagine Colorado as cold. So would you
Hmm.
say that you are a beach person or you're a mountain person?
Ooh, well, I would say beach person, but I have a pathological fear of the sun, which works out well as an audiobook narrator. So I would be a beach person under an umbrella, or a mountain person, but not like snowy mountains, but just like mountains in the summer, like hiking or camping, that kind of mountain.
So what's your favorite season then?
Summer. Or
Summer.
maybe like spring or fall, but I feel like those go by. It's like I always try to appreciate this, spring and fall because it's like when it's not super, super hot and it's like the leaves are changing or the things are
Hmm.
growing. It always seems like it goes so fast. So I would just say like to really like and appreciate it and settle in is like summer.
Okay, so you're in your favorite. We're in your favorite season right now.
Yeah.
And yes, and you should enjoy it while you can because out here in the Midwest, as
I
you're aware,
know.
summer's so short. It could
I
snow
know.
tomorrow. Oh, I shouldn't say that. God forbid
No, I want to
tomorrow we
knock on
wake up
something
and
wood.
you just never know it. It has snowed in May before and it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, it is. It really is.
And okay, so again, I know you drink water. Are you, most people that I chat with, they like coffee. Do you have a favorite hot beverage? Maybe hot chocolate, tea, coffee, anything like that?
Um, Coffee for sure. Although what's really funny is I drink only decaf these days.
That's not
Um,
coffee.
I
That's
people
fake.
say that, and it's like the thing is, I'm so addicted to just like my ritual and the taste of coffee that I can't stop drinking it. But I mean, and I used to be on your side. I would drink like a pot of coffee, regular coffee, by myself in a day
Oh,
easily.
well, no, no, I'm not that far, advanced in the coffee thing, but I always think that decaf coffee is like fake coffee because the whole purpose is the caffeine. It's
I
supposed to keep
know.
me awake, but I mean, I guess it's all about the taste, right? Maybe.
For me, it is now because I was a coffee drinker, have been for years and years and years, and then at one point I just gave up caffeine, and now it's like if I have a cup of regular coffee, my heart like really threatens to explode almost immediately.
Mm.
So I can't really handle caffeine anymore. I've like lost my tolerance for it, but I still love it's like my morning ritual. I just make a little cup of coffee and drink it, and it's I love the taste, and it's like still makes me feel kind of cool, even though I'm basically a grandma drinking my coffee.
See, now you can't say you're drinking coffee. You have to just say, I'm drinking decaf. So we'll know that it's,
Just call it
yeah, you don't even get to say coffee.
decaf.
You're
So
banned
everybody
from using it.
knows.
Yes. That's okay. In all honesty, I'm not a big coffee fan either. Every now and then I'll have some. I had some today and I drink it in the fall, my favorite season, when
Hmm.
Starbucks has pumpkin
Oh,
flavored, and it's got every pump of caramel and vanilla and
yeah.
cinnamon, everything in there. I'm bouncing off the wall for a whole week. So that's me. That's me and my coffee. All right, and so we have ended audiobook month, and so how did you celebrate? Do you have a favorite audiobook, or is there, audiobooks that you like to listen to on repeat? I didn't even ask you if you actually listen. I'm sure you do outside of work, hopefully.
I do. Yeah, I do. That I listen to on repeat. I'm trying to think if there's a book that I like listened to a bunch of times. I'm a big fan of a narrator named McLeod Andrews. I think I mentioned him to you on
Mm-hmm.
when you were having coffee, and he did a book. It's kind of like I don't know how you'd classify it. It's like a YA, maybe kind of like fantasy sort of book. Called Steelheart that I think I've
Okay.
listened to twice because I it was the first book of his I listened to, and so I listened and I was like, "What? This guy's amazing!" And so I listened to it. I think again a few months later because I was just like, I gotta like hear this, like what he's doing again.
Yes, I think you told me that I needed to add him in that book to my list. And so it is on my list that's ever growing. So I will be sure that I go ahead and add that as my listen. So before we wrap up here, is there anything that you're working on currently, either as Laurel or Tracy, that's coming out maybe in the next few weeks or so that you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I've got a couple projects. One that I'm really excited about should be coming out probably in like mid late July. I think she's going to try to time it to coincide with the ebook as close as possible, which is always nice when you can kind of get both or either.
Yes.
And it's a book called Elusive by um, I did it with Aaron Shedlock, who I think did he do featured voice or is he not?
Yay, Aaron. Okay, so Aaron does the intro for the audio
Oh, that's
flow.
right.
Yes, and he is going to be on the featured voice in the fall, but I'm doing an interview with him in July. So
Oh, great. Oh,
he'll be on
great.
the show. He's
Yay.
awesome. Yay.
He is awesome. So we got to work together on this book by it was by L.A. Fury, and it's a pirate book, just coming full circle.
Yay.
So it was a really, really fun project, and I'm excited for it to be finished. It was a really fun dual POV book that we did together.
Okay. And which is that under Laurel or Tracy?
That'll be under Tracy Marks.
Okay, so you guys know there's a little steam in there then because it's coming from Tracy. All
There's
right.
a little bit of steam.
And so we'll be looking out for that book to hit Audible in the next few weeks. And so tell everybody how they can reach you on social media through either one of your names.
I'm just being dragged in the 21st century. So I don't have Instagram. I don't have anything. I have Twitter and I have Facebook. But I'm on Facebook as I think it's Laurel Schroeder Voice is my Laurel Schroeder page. And then Tracy Marks narrator is my Tracy Marks page. And you can find me on Twitter, I think at Tracy Marks VO and Laurel at L Schro.
All right. And do you have a website as well?
I do. I have one for both. So you can go to laurelschroeder.com, keep it nice and simple, or tracymarksnarrator.com.
Awesome. So everyone, if you are looking for a fantastic narrator, especially actually in any genre, and she wants to do mystery thriller. So if you have a book that's coming out, take a listen, go and visit her, take a listen to her library on Audible. So you can search Tracy Marks or Laurel Schroeder and be able to find and take a listen or visit her website. And thank you so much, Laurel, for being a part of the Featured Voice. It's been fantastic chatting with you and meeting you this week. So I'll have to get back out there and we'll have to, be able to sit a little bit longer and maybe eat food next time.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
All right, everyone, this has been episode 5 of the Featured Voice. I am so glad that you guys joined in with us. Be sure that you are following The Audio Flow at The Audio Flow on Facebook. Also follow us on _audio_flow on Twitter, and also The Audio Flow on Instagram. Until next time, we will chat with you soon. Bye.